People love him already. He's got the Rhode Island twang.
The long pass to Moore and a pin block from Martin.
Tune in to Cam's Corner.
He's going to make it here.
Draws the foul for another Rhode Island and one.
He's got his own
podcast.
It's good off the backboard and in. On a break.
And we are back, guys. Welcome back to another episode of Cam's Corner, Season 3, Episode 10 and Episode 78. Overall, on the way to 100. So thank you guys so much for all the support. But today, joining me, Mason Scott Santos, otherwise known as DJ Finesse, a.k.a. the crowd favorite. So if you're from Rhode Island, you've seen him at Providence Friars games, rocking the amp, and he's rocking his own podcast as well with a bunch of other projects. So DJ, thank you for joining me. What do you prefer to be called? You got a bunch of names. You know, you're known as a lot of names. What's your preferred name?
Tons of AKAs, man.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. Anytime, any space, I get a chance to really kind of just connect with some people. I take advantage of that. So thanks for having me on, Cam. I appreciate you.
No, of course.
It doesn't matter, man. I mean, people have met me, and if I played basketball, it was Scott growing up. I went to college, actually URI first. It was Mason there, and then obviously, when Finesse hit, it's Finesse. So people are like, what do I call you? Well, depends on when you met me. So if you met me as Finesse, it's Finesse. You met me as Scott, it's Scott. Met me at Mason, it's Mason. So a bunch of AKAs. So Finesse is great for this interview. Makes sense.
Sounds great. Yeah. And I know you, of course, from PC Men's Friars games, growing up as a PC fan. And I know I met you all right. It's a little controversial, but I'm PC all ride or die. So, and I wear that proud. But before we get into all the experience you've been able to have, things like that all around Rhode Island, for the viewers that don't know, you are from Rhode Island. Just talk about the part of Rhode Island where you are from and where the passion that sparked up everything that you're doing now, where that came from.
Yeah, so I'm born and raised in East Providence with my mom, my dad. My mom's since passed about 3 years ago. So my older brother and I, East Providence, went to East Providence High School, graduated there, went to URI for 3 years, talent development, transferred from URI to Rhode Island College, went there for 2 years. So if people understand that, everyone's path is a little bit different when it comes to education. So 5 years and didn't finish. But I got signed a recording contract, so I was out the door. I was 20, 21. Like, who wouldn't do it, right? Promised mom and dad that I go back and get my degree. So, with the whole finesse thing and, traveling the world and DJing for, Bad Boy Records and doing all that stuff, BT, VH1, just a great, great career. Went back to Rick at 40 and then got my degree in criminal justice. So I've got a lot of stuff that's going on. I'm blessed to have a long career that's still flourishing now. And, with the emergence of social media, you get to kind of like rebrand yourself, right? So I'm probably hotter now than ever, even like working for Bad Boy Records, which is kind of crazy. So born and raised Rhode Island, right here, Rhode Island bred.
Gotcha. Yeah. And kind of a similar path to me too. I started off at Rick for my college career, and I just transferred to URI last year. So this is technically my last academic year. Haven't decided if I'm going to do like a post grad or anything like that, but my main focus is sports media, sports broadcasting, all that kind of stuff. So, again, like I said, happy to pick your brain, happy to be able to pick as many people's brains as I have been in this industry and see what their paths have been going like. And I saw that on your website, your son, Jaron, he was on my podcast. He was one of my first guests when he was at Dartmouth. Yeah.
That's what's up.
That's awesome. He so given that, of course, he's played basketball, of course, his whole life. What's your sports background like? Just talk about like the athletes and teams that you grew up watching and that have inspired you to do what you do too.
Yeah, so I was a late bloomer, man, and I almost felt bad for my son, but he was a little bit taller than I was. So I didn't make all state. I was kind of like honorable mention here in high school, and kind of like dating myself. So I'm 54. So my senior year, we didn't have the 3-point line. So it came the next year. So I'm dating myself. We didn't have a 3-point line in high school in Rhode Island. So I went to URI and grew 7 inches there, 7 inches in URI in 3 years. And my junior year, I'd probably have to say, like this, I tell people that there's never a loss, right? It's just lessons. Like you learn more from losses than you do in wins, in my opinion. Just my opinion. So, in my 3 years at URI, I grew 7 inches. I was like really, really good. So like my height, I kind of grew. The talent matched the height, or the height. Once I got a little taller, the talent was a lot different. And I was supposed to play my junior year. I was supposed to walk on my junior year. I was that good. And that's a whole nother story that we don't have time for, as far as not making that team. And when I left URI after not walking on my junior year, I was really focused on music, but I had 2 scholarship offers. I had one to Bryant that summer as I was transferring, one to Bryant. At the time, it was Bryant College, not Bryant University. Had an offer there and an offer at Lowell University, so Division II. So you can tell like the talent was there. Unfortunately, it was during the summertime, and both had used up their scholarship dollars. So the question was, if I could pay my first semester, money would open, and then I'd be, they would put me on scholarship. But looking back, if I was a Lamar Odom, they'd have found that money. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So they'd have found the money if I was that good. So, but it's good to know that I was at least good enough to have that kind of interest. So, I grew up playing against Ed Cooley, right? Ed was my age, so playing against Ed and Abdullah, Ed going to Stonehill, Abdul going to PC, Jamal Gomes, who was at Stonehill, the coach at Hendricken. Those are guys that, playing with Trent Forbes and, that really good basketball league on Smith Street where you had like just pros. Like, so if you was a baller, you played in that, in that Smith Street league. So, I grew up chasing my brother, 3 years older, who was really, really good. He got a scholarship to Bryant. So we come from that kind of pedigree. So if you went to Rick, then, Alex Butler, that is my brother-in-law. He's the second leading scorer in Rick history, right? So we come from a basketball family. My cousin Stephanie Perry, who's older than my brother, she's now going to be close to 60. She's still the leading scorer in Rhode Island history. She was McDonald's All-American. And with no 3-point line. I think she averaged like 35 with no 3-point line.
Wow.
So she still holds the record in Rhode Island history. And I think it was just 3 years. Mm-hmm. So, she's McDonald's All-American. So we come from that kind of family. So that's who I grew up is playing basketball from here to John Hope to Southside Boys Club. So we just went around and played basketball, man, every chance we got. So Fox Point, there's every place we could play, we were just playing basketball. So that was my first love.
Right. And your son, like I said, he carried on that legacy and that family mantra of going to Dartmouth. And it was fun to pick his brain too. This was like a year and a half ago I spoke to him.
Wow.
I was still at Rick. So
yeah, that's really cool.
I was just getting this started up, and I go on your website, I was doing a little research, and I'm like, oh my God, that's JC. And I was like, oh, it's his dad. Like it was cool to see.
And congrats on the podcast, brother.
I appreciate that. Really Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Thank you. And going along with your career and everything like that, obviously you said your junior year was a little bit of complication, but throughout your whole entire career, DJing, music producing, hosting events, writing books, podcasting, all this stuff, right? When you look back at the start of everything, what was your mindset getting into your first industry, and what was your end goal at the end of the day once you decided that basketball wasn't going to be in your future?
I think I was always hip hop, being 54. So from Rhode Island, I was introduced to hip hop probably 19, probably like more 79. I was like 10 years old, 11 years old, when Sugar Hill Gang hit. So I think that I was always interested in this culture that was just really starting up, right? 73 is when it like really kind of hit New York City. So I was 4 at that time. So I think that, no matter what, that music, I was always into music. My parents played it all through the house. That is. I think everyone's parent plays music when it's time to clean the house, right? Whether it be rock and roll, it just doesn't matter, right? You hear the music, it's like, okay, it's Saturday morning, the music's playing, you smell some coffee, maybe some bacon. It's time to clean, right? That's every household, no matter what kind of music it is. So we grew up listening to a lot of, the Earth, Wind and Fire, a lot of funk, a lot of R&B, oldies, the Motown. So music was always ingrained in me. I just didn't know to what extent it would really turn, but I knew that something about this hip hop thing, man, I wanted in on a big level. So I was in a hip hop group actually, and I think what the claim to fame for me, what really helped me realize the level that I wanted to get to was actually URI my freshman year. It was Master Ace. Master Ace is a hip hop legend. From the Juice Crew, Master Ace, Big Daddy Kane, that whole crew in New York City, and he was a senior, so Master Ace went to URI, so he's in their Hall of Fame, and so I got to meet him as a freshman, which was crazy. Just kind of connecting with him, didn't know who he really was, but knew he was rapping and on the radio station, and he was a dope person, and he's a friend of mine to this day. So every opportunity I got, I would leave URI long weekends and go to Brooklyn and Queens. So I was running around New York City, 89, 90, kind of getting that early 90s, like real golden era of hip hop introduction straight from New York City. So I knew then, I knew like, okay, this is massive. And being in a hip hop group, I was the DJ, but just kind of always, I'm a forward thinker. I think that I'm pretty good at marketing and how to present myself and how to pitch myself and then add value. So once I saw like, what we weren't doing well as a group, I was able to branch off and just kind of do the DJ thing because DJs were getting paid. And now the DJs get paid more than artists, right? So once I saw that we could be our own artists, that we could get booked like artists and make artists money, that's when I branched off. I'm like, okay, you know what? It's time to like do the finesse thing. The group thing is great. I love those guys, but we're just making some poor decisions and I just couldn't afford to keep making poor decisions. So I figured like, you know what? I'm gonna put my career in my own hands as a DJ and branched off, and then the rest is history.
Yeah, where does that name Finesse come from the earlier state? Was it
Oh
from
my
like the hip hop
God,
group?
bro, you're gonna laugh. Cam, this is, listen, you're getting it because no one's ever, what's crazy? You're the first one to really ask me this on a podcast.
Really?
Dude, so glad you're sitting down. This is hilarious. I can't make this up. It's my junior year. Again, torn between going out to play, going out to walk on, and I'm on the radio station for the first time at 90.3 WRIU.
Yeah.
And it was we had a Saturday morning show from 10 a.m. to noon. It was called Strictly Business Rap Show. We had taken the concept from New York City called the In Control Rap Show, and we kind of tweaked our own thing. And it was dope. We really set it up. My man DJ Michael, and I didn't have a name. I didn't have a name yet. I'm like, okay, holy, damn, I don't really have a name on the radio station. And so we're going out Friday night, we're drinking, and with college,
Yeah.
there's parties from Wednesday on, right? And I'm not sure how it was when you were there or when you're there now, but imagine, so my sophomore year, we were ranked number 2 in the nation for a party school, URI. So you could find something every single night. And being a social butterfly, your boy found it. I found right dorms and frat parties. So it's a Friday night, man. We're out late drinking, doing what college kids do. I wake up hungover Saturday morning. I still have no name. It's 9 a.m. I'm like, I need to hop in the shower, man. So I hopped in the shower. I looked over, and there's a bottle of Finesse shampoo. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, that's it. I'm like, DJ Finesse. I'm like, it came from a bottle of shampoo, bro.
Wow.
Literally. That was it.
I'm thinking the story's gonna come from some party, something happened.
No, man. It was no shower. Trying to
Wow.
wake up and get ready, hungover for my first show with no name. And I'm like, lo and behold, here I am in the shower, washing my hair with a bottle of Finesse shampoo.
And Cam's Corner is the first time you've told that on a podcast. How about
that? I mean, most folks have never asked, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Imagine if that was like Head and Shoulders. Like, what would my DJ name be? You know what I'm saying? Or like, Suave or Pert or something like imagine that. So it was Finesse. And so it just kind of rang. It made sense. And it's like I was, finesse things, and my style was kind of finesse. So it just kind of really matched.
Yeah, and I love like talking to I love talking to everybody that I've been to, like athletes, coaches, whoever it is, about the early stages, about how everything really started. So going back to like that topic, I guess, like your first big break, you were talking about a little bit with like the hip hop group and things like that. But just like looking back at it, what do you feel like one of your like biggest break was? What are your biggest breaks were that put you on the map? And how did you land that opportunity too?
It's a great question. I would, look, if there's a nugget within the question, I would literally say that it's not only creating, but it's maintaining relationships, because they run the world. They truly run the world. And I would say, chance meetings. Like, I could tell you story upon story, and I'll just tell one as far as the answer to the question, like chance meetings. So, how do I, as a freshman, get to connect with Master Ace? As a senior, like most seniors and freshmen don't hang out. Like, we know that, right? Like, you might meet a couple and they're cool, but they don't really get into your circle. So how do I get into Master Ace's circle as a senior? right? In such a short time that when he leaves campus, I can still go back and visit him. So I know Master Ace, obviously. I go back to visit Ace. There's a station that used to be called WBRU, right, on Sundays here in Rhode Island, from Brown University. So WBRU was throwing this huge hip hop concert. And long story short, one of the artists was Special Ed, right? Special Ed is another icon in hip hop. And I know Ace and Ed did a song together called Crooklyn Dodgers. So I'm backstage being Finesse. I see Ed. Ed just came off the stage. I approached Ed, dap him up, introduce myself. Ed, Finesse, blah, blah, blah. Ed goes, oh, yeah. Ace told me about you. Like, yo, let's go up here. Have you connect with my man Finesse, blah, blah, blah. Like, he's good dude. So Special Ed and I connect. So now we start doing industry night, Ed and I. Ed is coming from Brooklyn every Thursday. He's bringing artists with him every Thursday to Providence. He's driving from Brooklyn, bringing artists every Thursday. The last artist he brought was Ice-T. So Ice-T pulls up in the big body Benz. So here's Ice. So he's bringing every week. So unfortunately, the night wasn't doing too well. So the promoter was more promoting in Mass. I don't know why, but he wasn't really promoting in Rhode Island. So here, you have an icon, or icons in hip hop who are coming to Rhode Island on a Thursday night, every single Thursday, with Ed being the host. And he's just bringing, artist after artist. And so he comes to me and he says, hey man, look, I'm about to go on BET and do 106 in Park. And at the time it was AJ and Free. He's like, I'm gonna do, Freestyle Friday. They want me to do I Got It Made. And he said, I'll trade you if you can give me 2 free nights here. Now, mind you, this is 1999. So here I am making $500 for 2 hours in 99 at a club that I'm already making another $500 on the Saturday. So I'm making $1,000 in 4 hours in 99. That's just one spot. Right. So I'm doing really well financially. And so for me, it was an easy math problem. It was like, okay, hold on. I'm about to go on and do BT with millions of viewers and for $1,000. So what I said to Ed was, I said, listen, for the time that you're here, Ed, in Providence, promoting this industry night, I don't need to get paid. Because I did the math. That was like what he was about to do for me. You couldn't put a price tag on. So for me, what I did, for him, I'm like, bro, I'm good. Don't pay me. I'm good. What's going to happen after me going on this show? My anticipation was that's the break. So to answer your question, so Ed and I go on to do BET, 106 in Park. And we do that. Before I left, he set it up. I went and did Rap City with Big Tig at the time. When I came off Rap City, every single record label was calling me. Every label. Every label you can think about was calling me to send me. At the time, it wasn't downloads. It was still vinyl. And then vinyl was transferring to CDs before you got to, the streams and the downloads. So, I mean, every single record label, and my garage is loaded with, I got to, we're talking about FedEx and UPS and, every 2 days, at my door, dropping off stacks of records from, you name it, from Columbia, Universal, Interscope, Sony, RCA, Bad Boy, everything, Def Jam, every label. So that was my break. And again, if the nugget is, what if Master Ace and I weren't on good terms? That Special Ed conversation doesn't happen, right? I don't meet with Ed. Ed doesn't come to Providence. Ed doesn't offer me to go to BET. So maintaining that relationship with Master Ace, right? That chance meeting with Ace, chance meeting with Special Ed. I know Ed was coming to town until he was in town. I saw the concert. Then here I am backstage. So maintaining those relationships, and then also too kind of understanding the lay of the land, where you are, and then that those chance meetings that can really, really matter later on in life, as long as you maintain a really good relationship.
For sure. Yeah. Stuff like this. And like you said, maintaining that relationship. I see people in the sports industry all the time down at URI, being an A10 school, right. Division I school, they're always down there. People that I've had on, like Nick Coit and Ian Steele, who work at ABC6, and
just to name people, man.
Yeah. They're just great people. And to have those, again, just to see them all the time, for them to know my name, for them to know what I'm doing, to see the work, working in these like little internship jobs and to keep those relationships over the years. Well, like I said, I can see it opening up myself, like setting myself up for
it will.
a big time like break like that, you know?
Yep.
But
and it's not just, you know what, too, it's not just, and it's also too, I think there's the flip side of that is, you know, how do I add value? So it just can't be that I'm asking for something to happen, right? So now you realize that, you know,
you got to produce too.
Yeah, like you know, Ed is so much more. Like I've booked special ed, I've gotten him paid, I've gotten Master Ace paid. You know what I'm saying? So like they're much more apt to do something for you when you know that symbiotic relationship, it just works both ways, right? So you got to bring something to the table. It just can't be always you with a hand out. So I think the more value you add, it comes back, right? So I'm always looking at, okay, how can I do something for Ed? How can I do something for Ace? Like, what do I have that could be of value to them? And when you're coming, and even if it doesn't always work out, they just know that you have their best interest. So it's got to be, you know, it's got to be a two-way street.
For sure. And everything comes full circle, like you said.
Full circle. 1000%.
It'll come right back around.
Yeah.
But off of that too, kind of similar. Again, there's a bunch of big opportunities for you at an early stage, you know, then throughout the years, like NBA All-Star weekends and BET Music Award parties, like I saw, and just like the list goes on. There's a ton of them, but similar to that story, that could be the story. But what is, I guess, like your welcome to the industry moment where it could have been like, you know, you realize like, wow, this is going to be my career. I'm going to make a living off of this. It could be that same story, you know, or you elaborate off that one, or if there's something different that you think of when that question's asked, like what comes to your mind?
It's another good question. So, I mean, I think there's definitely points in my career that all led to where I'm at now. So I'm thinking like, I can't like pinpoint. I think that was the
right.
Like that was the catalyst. Like that was the thing that made me. Okay, so you know what? Let's add to that. So, I have a manager. His name is Kevin. Good friends of mine. You know, still really good friends. Like his family's like my family, but he's not a manager anymore. But we still hang out. And we're cool. So one day, I'm sitting in my I call him over, and he's from Mass. So I told him I had an idea, and we go downstairs in my basement, and we literally, you know, where my DJ room is, and I grab 5 boxes of records. I'm like, okay, we got to do more. It just can't be like we're from Rhode Island. They're sending us stuff here. Like we got to be in the industry. We got to get into the industry and be more noticeable. There needs to be, you know, these folks need to be able to place face with the name. Just can't be Finesse from Rhode Island. Like, who is this Finesse guy? So I grabbed 5 boxes of records. So I grabbed Universal, I grabbed Interscope, I grabbed Sony, I grabbed Def Jam, and I grabbed Bad Boy Records. And we literally lay them on the floor and we're standing over them. I'm like, okay, who is the DJ who's known to be the DJ that represents these labels? And we did process of elimination. It was like, okay, we knew Clue was one, DJ Envy was another, you know, RIP DJ K Slay was another, we had DJ Green Lantern was another. I'm like, okay, so those 4 guys were at those other 4 labels, and we got the Bad Boy. We're like, I don't know any like known industry, you know, DJ who's DJing for Bad Boy. I'm like, that's it. I'm like, we need to make that phone call. So I made the phone call. It would, you know, it would have the, you know, attention who was in charge of that region. His name was Henrock. So I called him up one day and said, Henrock's Finesse. Like, Finesse? I'm like, yeah, Rhode Island's like, oh, Finesse, what's good? Everything good? I'm like, yo, don't send me any more records. He's like, oh, it's like, like, bro, everything good? Like, what's going on? I said, listen, hold my records. I'll be there on Tuesday. I said, don't send them anymore. Just hold on to them. So we started going literally every other Tuesday. We would map out 6 labels. We'd call the labels, don't send us the records. We'll be there on Tuesday. We would go and we would hop around every label, book bag, you know, record bag, shake the hands, dap them up. What's up? It's, you know, Finesse. Oh, okay, that's what's up, Finesse, blah, blah, blah. I mean, we're meeting Mano, like everyone, you know, people in and out. I mean, I remember having literally going into Jive Records and then burning me a copy of Chris Brown's Run It. And it had Run It in a Sharpie written on it. So it wasn't even an official, like I got it that early.
Wow.
Like a burned copy of Run It when it said Run It, Chris Brown. Yo, get this new kid, man, teenager name is Chris Brown. Finesse needs you to help, break his record, blah, blah, blah. Literally. Like, it was that early, but going into these labels. And then it was just like Bad Boy was just my man Rich Dollars. He was an A&R, took over Henrock's spots. We would go and go and go. And then one day Rich was like, yo, man, just come upstairs, bro. We're not doing this no more. Like, he would come downstairs with the records. Things like, nah, we're not doing this, man. Come upstairs. You're here too often. And I remember just walking into, the Bad Boy building, 17th floor. You come off the elevator, look to your right, it's Sean John. Look to your left, it's Bad Boy. And I'm like, dude, like, we about to walk into Bad Boy Records, bro. Like, the iconic, Biggie, Craig Mack, like the Locks, Mary J. Blige, Total, Faith. Like, you can go, like Mace, you can go on and on and on. I'm like, yo, bro, we about to walk into this label. Like, they're bringing us here. Like, we kind of made it, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're here. So I think that was like when you walked in and the big mural of Biggie, and you're just sitting there, and you're like, yo, bro, like, we're here, bro. Like, this is the I'm here moment. And then it was just a matter of, it was the same thing like Special Ed. So Rich was, I was talking to Rich, and what's so cool is that I've been on, VH1 Love and Hip Hop with him. I'm like, yo, who's holding down the label? He's like, nah, I've got a couple of DJs do some mixtapes, but like no one really. I'm like, yo, I need that. I don't need no money. I need the branding. I need the cosign. Just you cosign me, I'll do the rest. That's all. I just needed, when people call, yo, that's official DJ, that's our guy, DJ Finesse. That's all I need you to say. I'll take it from there. And again, the goal was, now Rich is my guy. I'm booking Rich for everything. Bad Boy Takeovers, hosted by Rich Dollars. I'm paying his rent. Right. So now I go back to the office, all the other A&R was like, yo, Finesse, what's up with us, man? You and Rich is running around the country doing this stuff. But Rich was my guy. Like, Rich was like really, really, he was the guy that said, nah, man, come upstairs. We doing this, we're doing that, and just took me in and showed mad love. So I had to show that back. So I think that was the I'm here moment.
Yeah, those men are always the best stories to hear. You know what I mean? Especially people I talk with in the NBA or, coaches or stuff like that. It's like, for me, I mean, young up and coming sports, I guess, broadcaster, aspiring broadcaster, I'm trying to think of like moments like that where I've had it, obviously I've had them in like internships and stuff, but, to hear big moments like that and to be able to be that close with that higher up people, man, it's like, it's inspiring too. You're right from Rhode Island, like where I'm from. So it's like anybody can do it. If you have that, the mindset, the work ethic, that's why I keep a positive mindset every day. That's why I'm trying to be as consistent as you, everybody that I talk to every single day, because it can happen. It just like the people and again, the drive that goes with it too.
Yeah, that's huge, man. Like, the work works. Like, we put in, like I just tell him my PR, I have a publicist, her name is Pilar Scratch. She's amazing. And she's like, look, like we are now, like, we're reintroducing, or we're introducing the world to you, because most of what you did was pre-social media. Right. So we didn't capture everything the way you can capture everything today. Like, you can be in an event right now. We can screenshot this right now. We can post it on IG. Like, we didn't have that. So everything was like out of your trunk. It was like, it was all face to face. It was, if you had a camera,
way harder.
Yeah. Like, we couldn't, like, if you had a camera, you couldn't upload photos on the spot. No, you got to go home and send them to friggin' CVS and get them right. Like, we had hard copy pictures. We didn't have digital cameras. We had like two-way pagers. Like, it didn't record video, didn't record pictures. So there's so much stuff that people don't even know, because there was no place to post it. So now it's like, I'm going back now, and now she's like, we're going to play catch up. So like now, like being on your podcast, I did a podcast last night, literally. I'm getting hit up by a lot of people because now there's stories coming out via social media, stuff that we've done over the years, and people are like, yo, this is an amazing story. So I like to think that my story adds some value, but the work works. Like, I was willing to drive anywhere I had to drive, whether it be Atlanta, All-Star Weekend, Philly, open mic nights, like New York City, like anywhere I had to be, I was willing to go. I remember my man Sean Prez was like, Finesse, I feel like you're here every week. I'm like, yeah, man, because no one's coming to Rhode Island looking for me. Yeah, so if I have to be here every week, like, that's what he said. I feel like you're here every week, bro. I'm like, yeah, man, this is where it's at. This is the Mecca. So It's a 3-hour drive. I'm out. If I got to be there, I got to be there. And that has paid off dividends beyond compare. Like it has paid off the ROI on those road trips and wherever we had to be for free. That's why I'm here now.
For sure. And on your website, finesseyourlifestyle.com, all that stuff, all those accolades are all there. You know what I mean? There's the list goes on from, doing parties alongside with Snoop Dogg, all-star weekends, all this kind of stuff. It's like, you wouldn't know that, but now that you're putting it online on social media, everybody, like people of my generation, can see that and be inspired again. And I wanted to know, of course, those are big events. Those are like, I guess like you get butterflies going into them. You're like, oh my God, I got to like perform, right? A story that I like to ask people of that have had those kind of cool experiences is a moment where that sticks out to you, maybe like where you messed up and maybe like only you really recognized it and then maybe someone else didn't, but just an event in your head that you can remember that was very, very important. You're like, oh, I'm not on my game, that this is not working, but it was a learning curve and you got better from that.
Yep. I know exactly. I remember going down to Miami and doing like the number one club was called Mansion at the time. And I didn't really kind of understand the power of a rider contract and what you need to have in the contract that would allow you to perform your best. And I learned this from my man, Kid Capri. So I get to Miami on a Friday. I'm not DJing until Saturday. So we're hanging out all Friday, chopping up, having a great time. Me and my manager. At the time I had 2 managers at the time. I was high maintenance. I needed 2 managers, right? My manager, Alan, was down with me. And I didn't know Mansion. I know like even the setup. So I get in the Mansion on a Saturday and it's packed, man. It's the number one club in Miami. This is like, years ago where Miami it was model, just beautiful people. It was just the place to be. Miami was just beautiful people. And this place is mobbed. And the turntables are on chains. And they're swinging a little bit. So I'm not playing on no damn turntables that swing. Like I've never played on these swings, but it wasn't that. I am the kind of DJ that I need a mic stand with a boom. So learning from Kid Capri, I'm always on the microphone and you can't be on the microphone holding it and still DJing. So the microphone with the boom allow me to talk in the microphone like I'm doing right now and still use my hands and talk to the crowd and get them going and have the turntables and the mixer going. I didn't have the mic stand in my rider contract. Like that is literally my transitions come from my mouth. I'm talking people to do this, throw your hands in the air and then drop a song. I couldn't do it with holding the mic. And so I feel like I bombed. I think like, dude, like you bombed that. Like it was nowhere near what I normally do. But he was like, yo, he goes, I don't care about nothing else in your rider contract. I don't care about liquor, food. You make sure that your mic stand with the boom is in your contract because that is what we do. Like all the DJs like to talk like this. That's great for them. We throw parties. We are MCs that DJ and we use our mouth as our mouthpiece to galvanize the crowd. And you cannot have this thing mess up because you don't think to put it in your rider contract. So now I don't care. Like that mic stand and the boom has got to be at any place that I'm DJing. If I can't, if I'm going out of state, mine is in my trunk. It doesn't even leave the trunk of my car, literally. But if it's someplace where I have to fly, whatever else, they have to have that. I don't care about nothing else because I know like how uncomfortable I felt that time and just knowing you got this crowd and you're not on top of your game. It's like, yo, it was your one shot that just killed this Miami crowd and you didn't do it. So yeah, learning curve on that one.
Yeah, and it goes back to what you said about you value fails more than wins because you learned so much off of that. And now again, like you said, you don't go anywhere without that boom, without that stand. So it goes. Yeah, you gotta fail to learn how to win. And I'm a big preacher of that too.
Yeah.
With everything that I've done, but going off of that, I guess this is a sports-based podcast, and like I said from the beginning, knowing you from the Friars games and being in that atmosphere of the dunk before, now the amp. And again, with John Hope as the MC, he was the best. And I've actually been able to get a little bit of a relationship with Josh Flanagan, the new MC. And I've known him for about a year now. We've been on some podcasts together. He's amazing. He's a great guy, another Rhode Island born guy. Before we get into Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Before we get into like what it is like now at the amp, just talk about that overall experience, starting off, how it happened, and again how that opportunity came to you.
Yeah, I think there's a common theme, right, with relationships. So our, God rest his soul, our head coach for Rick, Rhode Island College, used to be an assistant men's basketball coach at PC. So Jimmy Adams, right, God rest his soul, he was an assistant men's coach at Providence College with Dave Gavitt. So we used to literally do PC camps. That's the way we got paid, right? During the summertime, we would connect. Hey, you guys want to do camps? Like, hell yeah, let's do some camps. We get paid. We stay around basketball. So I was self-employed at the time, and Steve Knapp, who was now the AD, like a lot of us used to play pickup basketball Tuesdays and Thursdays around noon at PC. So I got to get in good with those guys, just literally playing every day, Tuesday, Thursday, from like that was their lunchtime. And Steve Knapp was, I forget what his role was then, but nowhere near obviously what he is now. So I've known Steve since we were playing pickup basketball. And then my friends Phil Seymour. Phil was when I first met him, he was assistant men's basketball. So one day at the gym, and I'm on the shooting gun, I'm getting some reps up because I'm self-employed. So as a self-employed DJ, my job was at night, right? So daytime was my time to do whatever. So I always get some work in there and get some workouts in. And so John Lenahan and Phil Seymour are walking across the court towards me, and he's got some PC gear. Phil has PC gear in his arm. I knew John, but never met Phil. So introduces himself. Hey man, it's Coach Seymour, assistant men's basketball coach. I want to just give you some gear. He was like, I was in the club this past Saturday, and you had me doing the ride around. This is literally what he said. He goes, you had me doing the ride around. I said, what's the ride around? He goes, when you leave the club and you don't really want to go home, you just keep riding around the club. He goes, you had me so amped up that I was doing the ride around. He goes, yo, we got to get you here to DJ. So here you go again, chance meeting, right? Now I have to believe that if I wasn't a decent person in my interaction with these folks, that none of this would have happened, right? If I wasn't approachable or wasn't, approach that with gratitude and humility, it wouldn't happen. So he put a few phone calls in and ended up starting to do their late night madness. And at the time it was called Midnight Madness, right? So they changed the name. Mm-hmm. And then I ended up going to a UConn game with my son, UConn game when he was probably 12. I go back to PC and I'm like, they got a live DJ. I'm like, you guys need to get me down here live. And so they brought me to, I think every year PC does, I think it's the women's basketball. They do a game where they bring all the middle schools into the into the gym. And so they brought me to do that live. And I just kind of walked around and grabbed the names and was emceeing, shouting the schools out. So they saw I was kind of really good on the mic as well. And then they brought me down to do a game at the Dunk. But they had me sitting at the head table. So it was Frank Carpano and then myself. They had no turntables, just a mixer and a computer. I'm just pressing buttons. I'm like, it's and it's cool, right? I'm at the head table with Frank. It's cool. But I'm like, this ain't it, man. I'm like, listen, you gotta get me. I'm sorry. That order of events. Yeah. So I'm like, you gotta get me live. So they let me go live one time. I think it was a I forget who we played. It was a home game, went live, and we just crushed it. It was really good. And then that was it. That was literally 12 years ago. So this is my 13th year. So once I went live with turntables, I think they got to see what the crowd was, how they were responding to actually having a DJ and the visibility factor that worked as well. So it wasn't just the music, but it was, oh shoot, PC's got a live DJ. And I know you kind of have one, but I haven't seen anyone else. I know that sometimes the pros did. I think Miami Heat had one, but I didn't see a lot of live DJs doing it. So we were kind of ahead of the curve in the Big East at the time. UConn wasn't in the Big East anymore. There was I think the Continental, whatever they came back to the Big East. So realistically, once I started DJing, I think that PC had like the first like live DJ on the floor with turntables and everything else. So
yeah.
chance meeting, right? Phil Seymour. And then, again, being someone that just wanted to add some value and think that I could just really do something that was really beneficial to the culture, and had those conversations. And then it was, not just sitting at the table, like, no, this ain't it. Like, this is cool, but this is not it.
Yeah.
And then it was, Harry and I just kind of really steamrolling that thing and really thinking it through and how we wanted to really inject some hip hop into the culture of Providence College.
Yeah, and like you said, connections goes a long way. That's been like the narrative of what we've been talking about. But
all day,
how different is that from like the events you've done in the past? Obviously, that was like your claim to fame, and obviously it's still in your background and stuff like that. But like, how different was it to adjust? Was there any kind of adjustment, or was it kind of like, oh, I'm doing the same thing I'm doing every other night?
No, definitely in game is different, man, because you're not just I think the beauty about PC and Katie was doing it first before it was Katie, then B-Cat, now Audrey's there. The beauty about Katie at the time was she never handheld, like she never tied my hands as far as like what I could play. I think the adjustment was understanding the game and timing. So a couple of times I caught myself like watching the game. I'm still a ball player. So when it's time to play music, I'm kind of watching. I'm like, oh, I gotta play something, right? So you kind of have to get familiar with the game and then familiar with, the ebbs and flows of the game. When kind of like, so now it's like I know when the timeout's coming. Like I know when either we're gonna call one because they've gone on a run, or they're gonna call one because we've gone on a run. That's not an official, media timeout. Like I just know when the coach is going to call timeout. Like I got it. So as far as knowing the ebbs and flows and being prepared and my timing and just being different and adding some certain sound effects to some of the pregame stuff that just made it a little bit different, add a lot more hip hop instrumentals what they're coming out to. So it was really I think we've grown. I think I've grown over the last 12, 13 years, but I definitely don't want to be the same guy every year. So I'm always trying to push the envelope. Like, what can I do differently? What music can I play that's different? I'm open to different ideas. I'm not just like the guy that says, I'm Finesse, no. Whatever we can do to make this the best experience for every, PC fan. Someone is coming to a PC game for the first time, right? And someone's going to hear DJ Finesse for the first time. So my thing is I've got to be on point. I want to make their experience where they go away and they say, look, you got to go to a PC. So that was always Harry, our goal. When people walk away saying, it ain't a game anymore. It's an event. It's an experience. It's not a basketball game. Like going to PC games, it's an event. It is no longer a basketball game. So I think that we've created that kind of culture down there at the Dunk and the Amp now.
Yeah, and I've been able to talk with Harry a lot too and build a relationship with him. He said, I've watched his documentary. He said the same thing. You guys want to make it like an event. And it was so cool and eye-opening to see that, because growing up in the Dunk, like obviously it was always great, but it's changed in such a great way looking at it now.
And the students too, man. I mean, it's just like, I think that, look, I've gotten people that said, man, I didn't think you'd be this cool. So like,
like what's that supposed to mean?
Yeah, like, like I'm not on some pedestal, man. Like I'm born and raised here in East Providence, right? I'll never be, something that I'm not. I just can't do it. I don't live my life like that. My wife knows, and she thinks I'm too approachable. I just think she's like, we go someplace like we can never just get out. You got to say hi to everyone. You got to say, but that's just me. So I think that like even being in the student section and being approachable and dapping students up and just always if they ask for certain songs, I try to play certain songs, and because it's not about me, it's about these 12,000 people, right? I'm just one guy that's trying to galvanize 12,000 people. Some will like hip hop, some like country, some like rock and roll. Like, so how do I get them all to feel like we're Friartown? And right, so you got to be approachable, you got to be engaging, and then play what you think is right for everybody.
How did that Taylor Swift song come about? Was that before you, or did you come up with that?
That was so another great question, dude. So Brian B. Cat, he's no longer here. About 7 years ago, probably about 6 years ago, he comes to me and he says, Finesse, like, is there a song we can play that's going to galvanize, that's going to really get these people together, that they'll all do one thing? And I figured, I'm like, B-Cat, like, no, like, I don't think there is. We've got Black people, white people, Italian, Jewish, Irish, Latino. Like we got, it's a melting pot of PC fans, right? That all create this experience. I'm like, but you've got, 6-year-old grandkids and 80-year-old grandparents. Like, what's that song that they're going to relate to? I'm like, there's going to be something we can do. So it was literally, I went to Harry one day. I said, yo, this is what we're going to do. I said, make them stand up before jump ball. Let's make them stand up, and they don't sit down until we score. But that was my idea. Like, so that now that's become tradition or ritual. Like, that was Finesse's idea. Make them stand up, and they don't sit down until we score. And then we're gonna do it again before jump ball halftime. So that was one thing. Now the Taylor Swift was, just kind of give you some context. So I think it was URI game, ironically, URI game, and 3 young ladies come to me and say, "Can you play Taylor Swift? You belong with me." I'm like, yeah, it's not a hype song, right? It's not like Turn Down for What, Whoop, there it is, or whatever it might be, DMX, up in here. Like, I'm like, I'm like, I don't know. So I didn't play it at first. And then, sorry, I'm just, and then 3 more came and said, "Can you play Taylor Swift?" And I'm like, okay. I'm like, you know what, man? I think we're up 20. Like, sorry. You know what I'm saying? Cam, I apologize. I think we were up 20. I'm like, you know what? It don't even matter now. And so, again, I didn't tell, I'm in the headset. I didn't say anything. So we went on a run, and URI called timeout. And I'm pretty sure it was URI. I could be wrong. Don't quote me. But I just stopped, played Weekend of Taylor Swift. And in the headset, they're like, Finesse, what are you doing? Like, they literally said, what are you doing? I'm like, yo, we're up 20. 6 girls asked me for it. Let's see what goes on. And within seconds, we're looking back into the crowd, and we're like, oh my God. And the whole place went crazy. They're like, Finesse. I'm in the headset. They're like, you're a genius. I'm like, oh, I can't take credit. That's not my thing. I'm like, 6 PC students, 6 girls asked for it. I just went with it. They're like, and that became the thing where now, like, every game, every home game, at some point in time, I'm gonna play Taylor Swift. So now it's kind of like, second half. But now, like, I'm looking for a run, because just sometimes it doesn't happen. Like, if we're having a bad game, like, we don't have the runs, right? So now it might be first half, but once we go on a run, a big run, I'm dropping Taylor Swift.
Everybody's expecting it too. That's great.
I get texts like, yo, Taylor Swift, right? Taylor Swift,
Yeah.
Taylor Swift, that's right, Taylor Swift. So yeah, that's how it happened. It was just, by chance.
Yeah, and I know you got to go in a few minutes. I just wanted to give you your flowers on your authored book, Personal to Purpose. Came out a few years ago, and we get a chance to talk about it. But I just wanted to give you your flowers for that, and also the podcast that you started up, Finesse with special guests. That's amazing, and you can all go find that on finesseyourlifestyle.com. A bunch of different accolades that we didn't get to talk to about today, but we got a great conversation in with DJ Finesse. To kind of just wrap things up with the Friar stuff and the podcast in general, your most memorable game you worked at, and just overall in general, what do you think of Cam's Corner?
Oh, listen, great questions, great podcast. I mean, you're doing amazing things. I have no problem, just suggesting more people to come on this podcast, and I think you're giving people a great space to really introduce themselves, or even get through what they're working on. And I think you have some great questions, dude. Like really good questions. And I would probably say, like, the PC thing is probably that Taylor Swift game, man. Like, just something that was not planned that just turned into a legacy moment, man. For Providence College and that whole culture. To the point where, like, she sent guitar picks. Like, she sent guitar picks to us. Like, it got to her.
Wow.
Yeah. So she sent T-shirts, like, still 22. She sent guitar picks. I think it was like 30. I gave them out to the girls. They were crying. It was crazy. That's probably like the most memorable game. Or even when we won the Big East championship, right, outright, as far as rushing the floor, being a part of that. So I think there's been some really good times there, man. So we hope to create more this season.
Yeah, I just wanted to say I appreciate you again for hopping on, taking the time. I know you got a super busy schedule, as all my guests do. I mean, it's just a great honor and pleasure to have you on, sitting you down and go through your whole career. So thank you again. Was there anything you want to close off on to cap off the episode?
No, just keep doing your thing, brother. Keep doing your thing. You're doing a great job with your podcast, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks. I appreciate it, Finesse. And keep tuning into episodes of Camp's Corner, guys. We'll see you guys in the next episode. Thank you guys for tuning in.
My guy.
On a break.